Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. If you can find yourself a seat, I would ask that you please stay clear of the aisle right here, just because we will be filming our panel speakers, all right? Thank you. Welcome. If you are in this room, we're going to be discussing Factor Lab Smart Target, for those of you who don't know, with Barry Nelson and Jamie Dabbs, Lane, and Dan Sadler. So our panel speakers are going to be Barry Nelson. He is the pioneer in delivering enhanced safety intelligence for more than 20 years and the CEO, founder and CEO of Factor Lab. We got Jamie Dabbs, is currently the vice president of TDIndustries, and he has been in more than 13 years of experience at TD, and he's been also a pioneer at implementing a lot of new innovative programs at TD. We have Dan Sadler with us, VP for StructureTone Southwest for over more than 10 years, safety professional for over 24 years. And then we have Lane Smith. He is currently the business unit safety leader at DPR Construction, more than 24 years of practical experience, and then he is also the safety manager with DPR Construction in Austin, Texas. All right, so enjoy.
So much. Thank you very much. Thank you. That's a good-looking group. So it's not going to be about Factor Lab. It's going to be, how am I doing on audio? Is that okay? All right. It's really going to be, this is a very, very interesting session. I think it's sort of almost, might be overselling it, but it's almost historical. These guys, first of all, you have two GCs who are competitors, and you have one of the leading mechanical contractors in the country, all coming together to talk about something that no one's ever heard them talk about what they're doing. And they're going to talk about what they've learned after listening to, I feel like, is that okay? Is that echoing still? 100,000 safety conversations. 100,000. So when we tried this like 3 or 4 years ago, we didn't know if we could even get 5 safety conversations, right? So what you're going to get out of this today is a really interesting set of insights from these guys about what would you learn if you could hear 100,000 of their conversations. And I'm going to tell you, it's not what you think. So, Smart Target, very quickly, we're a technology company to help people prevent accidents and injuries in the workplace. If you want to talk about Smart Target, we'll do that another day. What we're going to give you, hopefully, is a chance to learn from these guys, talk about what they learned from 100,000 conversations, and then I'm telling you, if you do one thing next year, just one thing in your 2023 plan, listen to more of the daily planning conversations that your field people are doing and put that into your deal, because it'll help you with everything else that you're trying to get accomplished. And these guys are going to tell you how to do that. All right. So we're going to do a little bit on the processes broken, just so there's some context. I'm going to have these guys first just talk about, okay, well, if you do all this, the big question is, does it actually have an impact? Do they really, you did all this conversation stuff. If you listen to 100,000 of them, do you actually have less accidents and injuries? I'm sure that's exactly what you're thinking. And I'm going to let them answer that first, and then the rest of it, you'll be able to go like, okay, how did they do it? Then I'm going to show you quickly the technology. It's going to be the world's fastest tech demo, only so you have some context, but we're not going to spend a whole bunch of time on that. We're going to listen to some conversations, and we're going to talk about them as a group. And then I'm going to get quickly, maybe talk a little bit about some charts and some new metrics that leaders love, but not too much of that. And I want to spend as much time as we can. Oh, Scott Sears. And we have as much time with these guys doing a panel discussion. So we got some really good provocative questions, and I'll just ask them questions, and then they'll talk. Okay? So that's what we're going to. So I'm going to talk fast, and I'm going to move quick. If I talk too fast or move too quick, you have to help me. All right? So this is so we're talking about pre-test plans. All right, so what's another word for pre-test plan? JSA. Exactly. It's that. So today when we use the word pre-test plan, we're saying that all the same thing. It's that thing in the morning where people are supposed to get together before we start work and have a conversation, right? Talk about what's going to happen, right? And by the way, why do we do it? What's the purpose of that silly thing? Why bother? Pre-plan the work. Pardon? Everybody on the same page? Now, that's an interesting one. That'll come up, right? Okay, that's good. So, Lane, maybe talk about this little.
Yeah, so thank you for being here. What you're looking at is, I was working for a mechanical company, safety director, and really trying to drive engagement, like just how do we get people to switch on? And I kind of noticed that people would walk up and sign a blank piece of paper, and then the boss would fill it out as they rolled out. And so I was trying different things, none of them were working, and this was a lot that sticky note was the last straw for me. Basically wrote on there, hey, if you can read this, you can have the money. Flipped it over, watched 7, 8 guys walk up, sign it, and then I went back over and was like, hey, none of y'all wanted this money? And of course they were like, oh yeah, we want the money. So that was it for me. Like, this is a broken process. This is like a waste of time. I want to do something about it.
Right. And if you just take a broken paper process and you make it a digital process, does that magically make it better? Absolutely not. That is exactly right. So I cannot emphasize that enough. That gentleman back there said it. If I could have the world's greatest piece of paper, but there's no conversation, did I get everybody switched on to the same thing? Zero. What did I just have? I just have a piece of paper or electronic piece of paper. I didn't do anything with it. So we had to sort of rethink this whole thing, which gets back to let's shift the emphasis from paper and forms and stuff, and let's start talking. Those are my kids. Let's start talking about the conversation. Now, this first video that we're going to watch is this. I want you to watch this. We're going to watch about 15 seconds of it.
This label will now be found on chemicals and products that the company purchases. This should be the only label you see after December 1st, 2015. The elements that you will find required on all labels include pictograms, product identifier, single word.
15 seconds, because I can't do any more than 15 seconds with that poor guy, right? Now, what's happening there? Exactly. Why is he reading from the paper? That's what he was told to do. Oh, it's a torture, Chase. Now, by the way, did that guy do anything wrong? Absolutely not. Is that his fault? He's doing what he's told. By the way, he drew the short straw. He could be an apprentice. He could be young. He could have been just the guy who got stuck with it. I don't know what it is. By the way, this is a real customer who already knew that he was on video, who had his people do this. Because why? They thought this was a good idea. So if we think it's a good idea, and by the way, this is not like this has happened. This is real stuff. It's not mocked up. This is what we are doing. So this is not that guy's fault. This is our fault as safety professionals. If we don't change the environment and make it more clear what it is that we want, why would we expect anything to be different? So we wanted to move away from forms and stuff. Okay, got that. But we want to have a conversation. Great. Well, we have an obligation to help people understand what the hell does good look like. That means that's what these guys are going to talk about. All right. So I'm going to get back to this part now, so that's good. All right. So before we go any farther, these guys take 2 minutes. Maybe we'll start with you, Jamie.
Okay.
All right. This is all good. I know you're just going to be videos or whatever, but if you work on any of this stuff, does it really have an impact, and how would these guys know that?
So our safety engagement journey, we're on 3 years of repeatable, predictable improvement of our results. We've had really wild success here, and we see a certain correlation to volume of safety engagement increasing and then a decrease of our TRIR, or our just total incidents.
And how much has that changed over the last 2 or 3 years? Did it just 1 year it dropped a little bit, or it dropped some?
Now we jumped from a 2.0 to a 1.4 to a 1.1 to a 1.0, and it's shaping out to be flat at 1.0 again. So we're on that 4th year of really repeatable, predictable results.
Okay. Now some of you are thinking, because I know you're cynical, because I've been in that chair before. Yeah, it's just Jamie though. Could have been anything, right? How do I know that that's really, that's something special they did?
Yeah, one additional point there. So there was growth of volume in there too. So we measuring and improving all of our safety system processes for this health. So we measured 176,000 and then 189, and then we're going to break the 200,000 to 225,000 mark this year. And so certainly that just means we're measuring and improving more safety systems. We have better insight.
That's right. And I'll say something at the end of this, but I just want you to hear this, and I don't want to stop these guys. All right, well, maybe so, Dan, I don't know. What happened with you?
Yeah, our story is pretty similar to Jamie's. When we initially started this whole activity, Barry, we were really looking at, okay, we have to have a better way of doing this and trying to drive field engagement. What we really learned is that we're working on improving what frontline leadership should look like on StructureTone projects. And we notice a tremendous amount of involvement, not only from the foreman level, but the participants engaged with that. We're able to see our accident trends go down as frequency went up, and also quality of the conversation went up as well. So our story goes is we reduced the total recordable rate over 65% in 2 years' time, all of our man hours included, our trade partners included, by focusing on this activity and trying to drive field engagement. So it's a real success story for us, for sure.
Thank you, Dan. So maybe, all right, so two guys, maybe that's just two, maybe they know each other. Okay, maybe. All right, Lane, you're in another place, you're in Austin, right? You compete with Dan, so.
Not that I'm superstitious, but that was probably someone calling to say they got hurt. But, we all have that. No, so DPR does a lot of self-perform work. We do about 1 million man hours of self-perform work in Austin, plus we do the CSIP or contractor insured program. So we saw a reduction of 58% in injuries across our projects, and into hundreds of thousands of dollars in savings and insurance costs, so just claims costs. So huge improvement.
Right. Now, I want to make something really clear. So, I could line up another dozen people that would not necessarily tell the exact same story. Let me make something clear. Did the technology have that impact on recordables and injuries? No, it did not. So I know you might think, well, there's a technology guy who's trying to convince me this technology is magic. No. What I'm telling you is the technology enables the safety professionals to do the things they need to do, and when they do those things, better things happen. You're going to hear these guys talk about getting leaders involved, getting more people engaged, figuring out these, getting people aligned. When you do that and you talk about these conversations, by the way, you go out and help that guy who was reading that thing stop reading and actually get the guys engaged. That's helpful, right? That's helpful. Gizmo didn't do that, but the Gizmo showed you like, oh, there was a guy who was doing that. I should probably figure out how I'm going to fix that shit, because it's dumb to do that. Right? And you're not helping anybody. And you put people at risk, and you do that like 1,000 times. Well, yeah, like something bad could happen. So that's how that works.
It does allow you to scale, though. So when we think just pre-planning at TD alone, there's 160,000 plans we do every year. Even with a large safety team of 25 safety professionals, you're not going to scale it without using some type of technology to organize that information.
Exactly. So this is the world's fastest factory lab demo. So I'm just showing you this. They already know, because I hate to do this, but if I don't do it, then you don't know how they did it. There's a mobile application that is involved. You take your safety system, we took their safety systems, put their little form on here so that you can do the form, and there's a feed, and you can scroll through the feed and say, oh, that's sort of interesting, and then you can click on one, and when you click on it, it'll bring up the details, and you can see what's happened, right? Here's the details of what happened. If you want to, you could watch the video, right? So if you want to, you can leave a comment, right? You can like it. So it's a very fast way for you to. And by the way, here's a little thing. You can do this, pick the project, pick the pre-task plans, right? This is the little form. So it has all the stuff that you would want to be able to do. The guys in the field like it because it's simple, but the magic is the conversation, right? So having this feed and allowing, by the way, the safety professional to not have to go out. By the way, how's this process done today? Where's your drive out to the job site, walk out to somebody, what happens next? Where's your pre-test plan? First of all, what's that guy feel like right there? Right? Let me go find it. Let me stop what I'm doing. And it's take, right? And then you give it to him, and then you're going to coach him, right? Which is really means you're going to give him a lecture or something. He hates it. It's not a great way to build a relationship. You watch these in the truck when you're having your cup of coffee before you turn the keys on, right? You look through it and you go, hey, let me see what the hell's happening with Juan today. Then I can tap on it and I see what's happening with Juan. I watch the video. When you walk up to Juan, what do? You give him something. Hey, Juan, nice job. Look into this thing. I saw you were doing this deal. The guy's working on something weird over there. Where is he? Can I go do something? Now it's not take. It's give. What happens? Relationships go better. Relationships go better, right? Things happen. All that shit together, less accidents and injuries. Okay. So, all right. So that's this. There's reports. We're going to show you a couple of reports. We're not going to show you everything, but yes, it all comes up and there's some reports. All right. You had to suffer through the demo. All right. Now, Jamie, This is his quote, right? I never had a more engaged senior leadership team. This information has changed forever how our operation teams thinks about safety and metrics. What does that mean?
So for us, what it means is, like I said, now we can scale. So 160,000 pre-plans, we have at least 400,000 safety processes that we can measure and improve. Well, in the past, for example, we know we do at least 160,000 paper pre-plans. Surely that's our most healthy safety system. It is certainly not. We do a lot of them, but it was very broken. Until now we can scale this data. We have some very sophisticated reports. We also use internally a written plan on report distribution. So I've got the ability for our frontline leaders' activities and safety system health to be very visible with our executive and upper management, and we've never had a better tie-in between the two with just understanding safety system health.
That's awesome. Dan, let's watch a video here, and I want you to talk a little bit about.
Sure.
We'll watch a couple seconds of this, and then you can talk a little bit about what's happened and ask these guys some questions.
Hey guys, this is Gary Lechner Electric. Today we're going to be working on some overhead. We're going to be relocating some lights. We're going to be working on roofing as well, installing boxes, running MC cable, installing some pipes, running some flex. What are some hazards we're going to run into today? Sure.
Of course, with the MC, make sure you take care of yourself, of your hands with gloves. You can get cut. We're working with sharp edges and the MC, the edge of the MC.
Oh, I just paused it. It goes on like that for another minute or two, right? So just for the sake of time. So Dan, either ask questions or share, yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to ask a couple questions, but just to tee this up, this was a project in San Antonio. We're working with our trade partners, trying to help improve these daily planning huddles. So it starts out a very simple process. We ask them if they feel like they'd like to save some time, help improve their quality of their planning huddles, and also help reduce accidents on their jobs. Everybody nods their head, it's great. We decided to roll this process out. So this was after a couple coaching sessions with our regional safety manager. They start out like reading, like the one, like the show, like the before, right? Jamie, the guy reading the sheet of paper, and everybody's just kicking the floor, arms crossed, or they leave, or they're checked out thinking about little Susie's bicycle or something at Christmas time, right? So what we're really trying to do is to try to get these frontline leaders switched on, and we use that term switched on a lot because switched on kind of indicates something happens. There's a pause that takes place. People have to stop and think and really recognize real hazards and high hazards. So we wanted to, part of our Safety 360 program is actively caring. What does actively caring look like, and how do we measure that? That's a feeling, right? How do we measure what actively caring looks like? So this is one way we do that, but just as a singular question to the group is, what are your thoughts on this pre-task plan? Is this something that you think would be beneficial to a frontline leader? Anybody? And Christian, why do you think it'd be beneficial to a frontline leader?
Taking, a minute and a half, 2 minutes out of their day, a lot longer.
Oh, for sure it does. Yeah, definitely time saver for sure.
The supervision in at least at DPR, a lot of senior superintendents that were not tech interested, or they thought this was like a big tech thing. What they ended up telling us is they liked that they could see that everyone had skin in the game. So it wasn't a supervisor telling their crew has to come to the table with something, and that was a big surprise for us.
Yeah, absolutely.
How that switched on shows up at TD. So we took some of our foremen that were really great in this daily planning conversation. So we start asking them, what are they trying to accomplish with that activity? And what you'll find, there's probably a disconnect between what safety has told them they're there to do, manage this 3-column box of hazards, mitigation steps, and whatever you're working on that day in your planning steps. When we talk to them, and what this switched on looks like is they get the men ready. So they're trying to get close to them. They're trying to look them in the face, make sure everybody's energized, match my energy, set the stage and the tone for how we're going to kick off our morning. So that's another piece of that, getting them switched on, is just setting that tone for the day.
That's right. Let me ask you guys a couple questions on that video. We watched maybe 15 seconds of this video, and obviously we're guessing a little bit. But if you watched that, what did you learn, or what do you think you learned in 15 seconds of watching that video about those guys? That's right. So we know that they were trying to think through the work, right? You could see the guy literally pausing. Had they prepared ahead of time before they did this? No? Maybe not. So you learned that they were trying to think through the work. They may or may not have prepared as much as you had wanted them to do or not, but they were thinking through. And I didn't, this is, you just watched 15 seconds of it. But if you watched it a little bit longer, you would realize what they know and what they don't know, because they just told you, right? If we just stopped it and all the guy focused on was hands relative to whatever that hazard was, you could decide whether or not you wanted to talk to him about something else, right? So without seeing them and hearing them, you don't know what you know, and you don't know what you don't know, and then you don't have anything that you can do to go and help them and bring value to them. You follow me? They're giving you clues, like, okay, good, and then you got lots of different ways you can take it. So that's how you...
One other thing, Barry, just a follow-up note to that is I think it's on us as safety professionals to help improve the quality of these planning conversations. The role of safety professionals is not just to be the police and a cop, it's to coach, right? You got coaches, cops, and cruisers, and we're trying to get everyone on our team to be coaches, right? And this is one activity that's really highlighted how our team, and some of those folks are sitting in the back, our team has really helped bring value to the project. This is something that is kind of a hidden little gem inside of this piece. The value is not always seen of a safety professional on a job site on a daily basis, right? I think this helps drive the stock of the safety professional up, also creating value, at the same time delivering a better construction outcome, right? Schedule adherence, project delivery, risk, safety, this is all part of a successful delivery of a project, right? So we're actually helping with that.
That's good. And by the way, it's a really important thing. I want to just emphasize, and I want to come to this guy's question, and then I don't want to lose what he said, but part of the whole thing is, how do we create an environment where the role of the safety professional is enhanced and is a peer-to-peer relationship, and they trust you and they see value in you. And if you can use this exercise to enhance the nature of relationship that you have with the field people, the value transcends the activity. That's a big deal. That's a big, big deal. Yes, sir. You had a question.
Part of the question is, subcontractor, how do you get general contractors to accept?
Hold that.
Funny you bring that up.
All right, go ahead.
The exact experience.
Yeah, go. Sure.
So we're battling the GC sometimes. They'll have their own process or form they want us to use, and so we've tried a couple different things. One, we'll either complete their form, just snap a photo of it, and then shoot our own video outside of that. We also may have cases where the foreman does our process and a lead person is doing the GCs or vice versa. So we'll try to always make sure we accommodate them. But at first, we can even go back and say, hey, here's what we're doing, because sometimes we can show them what we're using, and they'll say, oh, that's better. Just keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
There is a nice feature on the app that lets you turn it into a PDF and shoot it to someone. So if there's a company that needs like the hard copy or it filed somewhere like University of Texas or something, it's super easy to
Yes.
say. But I can tell you it's surprising when I was a subcontractor how much pushback I got from the GCs
Yeah.
So.
And that's part of the reason that we're here, is to say, this is 4 years ago, we had that kind of question, and we were kind of, it's a real question. I mean, and there's lots of different examples, and we can tell you about how to do that tactically. But if there's anybody that's a GC in this room, after hearing what these people are doing with $100,000, 100,000 conversations, and you're not encouraging people to focus on conversations, what the hell are you doing? Right? It's a sin. It's not funny anymore. And so this is when I'm talking about the historical part of this. We as an industry, TEXO as an organization, can no longer tolerate stupidity. And stupidity is having people line up and sign forms and put them into a box just to entertain you. It's not good. It's not helpful for anybody. And there's just no need for it. And that's really what and by the way, it's not about Factor Lab. You know what I mean? This is about, we as an industry got to rise up and say enough of the nonsense. All right, this is another example. And if we don't, by the way, then we'll just keep, letting these people perpetuate nonsense.
Pero buenos días, hoy viernes 12 de agosto vamos a comenzar con el plan de trabajo. Vamos a regresarnos a hacer los juegos que teníamos pendientes por las opciones que teníamos. Vamos a tratar de mover.
I'm going to move this a little bit over here.
A punto de que nos pueda causar alguna enfermedad de calor calambres, dolor de cabeza, o
Different group of people
náuseas.
talking.
Entonces, vamos siempre conscientes de estar hidratados, siempre conscientes de que estamos en un área donde hay muchas máquinas y
Lane.
tráfico pasando constantemente
Well, I
durante
can't
todo el
see my
día.
mouse.
Y no es
So I know an old dear friend is back there, Don. Would you mind translating that for us real quick? I think he's back there, but there he is. Yeah. So how many people in here speak Spanish? Just curious. Okay, y'all could understand him. So about half the room, which is amazing, awesome. I grew up in a family where my grandfather decided not to teach my mother Spanish, so she didn't learn it, I didn't learn it. So the half this room in here has no clue what they're talking about. You can kind of see people are engaged. You can see that there's a dialogue if you watch the whole thing, but there's no way to really know, right, what they're talking about. So these guys have come up with I think it's probably one of the most amazing safety achievements in a long, long time, which is that audio gets translated to English, and then I can read it, and I can read along it. So that what's amazing about this is not only do our superintendents now know what kind of planning is happening, I can tell what they're up to, but we don't have a tiered system, a second class. So in construction for many years, there's the English-speaking guys and then the Spanish speakers. And
No, because the audio is not good enough. And they speak in these crazy dialects. Because you know the Guatemalan thing, but it's a little bit of a delay. Yeah. You know, a lot of people ask that question. Don't have it? Yes, we can. We could for sure.
we could do it, yeah. And I mean, but the feedback from the field, and it's a thing that I was completely surprised by. Like to me, I'm thinking, hey, this is to help me, but they know it. They know we can read them now, and so now they feel included. So we've done a lot of recognition, a lot of he can show you some of the cool technology later, but there's a way to like point out who your best people are and who your people that need help. So now they're included in all those initiatives, and so big surprise. It was cool.
It's a huge thing he just said. So for years and years, I couldn't get anybody to pay me to do the Spanish to English translation because it was like a thing, and I would say, "Do you want to do it?" And they would say yes, but they wouldn't say, "I'm not going to pay you any money for it." So, but anyway, finally got around. Some people did it. That we actually did the technology. It's a true story, right? By the way, it's just how the market works. Anyway, they did it, and I was still kind of struggling with why. You know what I mean? Like, you know, they've been going on this long that people really, really care. What he said is the big part about why you care. There is a percentage of the population who is speaking another language that works for your company who is silently frustrated by the fact that you don't understand them. And this, I'm speaking to all the white guys. So, and when you do, it becomes an enormous benefit on the other side for lots of things that are unspoken. It's respect, it's care, it's trust. It's a whole bunch of shit that they're just kind of like not saying, but they're really grateful when you do it. And it is a big deal culturally when we talk about all this inclusion stuff. It's a bigger deal, maybe bigger than the individual conversations themselves. So thank you for that.
I just want to add that when we did this, they'll show you some cool stuff. Some of our Spanish-speaking leaders are the best in the company.
Yeah, it's actually true.
So, and we didn't know it.
Yeah, there's a whole. If we have more time, we will talk about that. But the whole Spanish thing is fascinating. If we have time at the end, come back and ask me that question, and I'll do it. But I don't want to take away from you guys talking. All right, Jamie, we're going to watch a little before, y'all want to watch a couple more videos? Okay, all right, a couple more videos. We aren't going to spend a whole bunch of time on this, but this is important. I want to watch this guy.
My name is Kyle Skipper. I'm a TD pipe apprentice, and today I will be drilling anchors, lifting pipe, and flagging loads. In order to remain safe, I will keep my proper PPE, including my hard hat and vest on, and I will be utilizing.
Jamie?
He's new. He's in an apprentice type role. He's doing what he thinks this activity is supposed to be. So he's seen somebody regurgitate a pre-plan, and he's doing his version of it for first attempt.
I joke. He's like a Ukrainian under like torture thing, right? Does this guy look stressed? Yeah. Has he ever done this?
Pretty damn good, Barry.
Well, he look. Let me tell you what that guy is thinking, right? I'm guessing what that guy is thinking when he's doing this. Holy shit, what am I supposed to say? I got to do this. I'm on camera, right? We haven't prepped him. We haven't told him what we've done. We haven't given him a good example of what good looks like. By the way, it's a great culture. It's a servant leader culture. These people they're fantastic. This is not about bad people or not caring or not having safety professionals. It's not about that. It's about the reality in our industry, especially everybody in this room is, we haven't shown a lot of these young people what good looks like, and we haven't talked to their leaders about how do you create an environment where you have a good conversation.
And we intentionally, early on, we don't give them a ton of information. Here's how you use the app. Here's the 7 things it's looking at. Go be you. Have some signature style. We'll see where you're at. You're going to have improvement opportunities. We'll work from there. It's a good baseline.
This is a couple of weeks later.
Which cars?
Same crew.
All right, morning, guys. Morning. Happy Monday. Did y'all have a good weekend?
Yes, sir.
Everybody get good and rested last night? Good. All right. Here's what we got today. North Star is supposed to move that fire line today.
Okay.
Kuba, what are we going to do when he moves it?
Well, we have to check it out, everything right there. And then we have to be careful with the people, with the car and everything. And then after that, we put the pipe.
He's a little hard to understand because he's got his mask on, but he's beginning to explain the work. And if you watch this thing, every one of those people would participate in the conversation. What's the difference between the first one and the second one? I mean, the second one and the first one.
So everybody's active. So you see him attempt just a few weeks later. He's still not great at it, right? The whole crew is kind of struggling, but they're trying to implement these 7 effective elements, which we'll talk about some. You see them talk about caring. They're trying to be caring up front. They're trying to engage others. So they're trying to improve. So I love seeing that effort is there.
For sure. What was the first thing the guy said? Good morning. How was your weekend? Do you think that matters? It matters a lot. Am I going to talk to you if you're not kind to me? If I don't respect you and you're not you don't give a shit about me? No, I'm not going to talk to you. And if I'm not talking to you, what happens? You don't know what I'm thinking. You don't know what I know and I don't know. I am not switched. Maybe I'm switched on, maybe I'm not. You don't know. So it's a big, big deal. By the way, who shows up at these meetings? Leaders show up at these meetings. And people who want to be leaders but don't know how to lead show up at these meetings. How many little baby PowerPoints were killed to make this video? 0. No PowerPoints. How many safety trainers did we have to go to? 0. How many classes did we have to go to? 0. What did they do to do this? They went out and showed them an example of what good looks like of somebody that was a peer of theirs. They talked about what it is. The guy was like, holy shit, I didn't know that's what you wanted. Okay, got it, right? He's able to do it. Now, great, move on. By the way, this is the stuff that has an impact on accidents and injuries, right? Because he's gotten a bunch of people participating that weren't otherwise participating, right? All right. No, we gotta move.
That gentleman did a great job of asking follow-up questions. Like if you watch that whole thing, maybe we can provide this for everybody.
Yeah. You want all this stuff we can, and we'll have lunch together and we want to talk about stuff we can. All right, Lane, this is your quote.
Yeah. So I'm watching people sign blank pieces of paper, set out. Actually, it was Austin Commercial, and I think it might have been. But what's the leader? He's back. So Austin Commercial had a big conference in Austin. They said, "Hey, we've stagnated. Our incident rates are flat. What can we do?" And I said, "Well, let us try something different." And so anyway, we started. But I thought I was going to fix the pre-task plan. Right? Like we're going to get people to do a better job, like what you just watched. And what I ended up doing, and what was a big surprise I didn't know, was starting that journey was having to align an entire company about this particular activity. So why, what we want people to do, what good looks like all these things. What's your role? What's my role? What's that person's role? That was the work that actually happened to get what you just saw. So that to me, I think is you cannot move from A to B till everyone's aligned on why you're doing it and what you're doing. So
good.
Something I'm share.
So have you guys seen this? How many of you have seen the 7 elements? Some of you have, some of you haven't. All right, thank you very much. This was designed by our industry, for our industry. It wasn't done by some sort of weird laboratory. It certainly wasn't done by me. But if we had more time, we would sort of do a little exercise of what does a good conversation look like. And if you broke it up into some pieces, you'd probably come up with something similar to this, like, okay, the guy who's talking is engaged, the people are participating, we're talking about the hazards, real hazards and high hazards. Real hazards are like PPE, slips and trips. I mean, those are, in air quotes, real hazards, but are they the, you know what I mean, are they the high hazards? They'd have that. The guy would care. Questions would be pretty good. Like if I had that in a conversation, it'd be a pretty good one, right? So this is the 7 elements. So this is helpful to Lane's point. If you don't have a definition, you might want to think about what is our definition. You're free to use this one, but it's a framework to start. It is not magical. We don't care if you have 6 or 7 or 50,000. The point is have some kind of a definition to communicate to people what you want and then show them some examples of what good looks like. Now, I'm not going to go too far on there. I'm going to let Jamie talk to this. We worked with the University of New York, sent them lots and lots of, had thousands of safety conversations, built a mathematical model that would take those 7 elements and take an individual conversation and predict whether or not they were talking about high hazards or real hazards or care or those things in those conversations. What you're seeing now is a representation of those, and I'll let Jamie talk about why he likes this chart.
Yeah, I love this chart. I'll explain it the way I understand too, and the way I relay it back to our organization. So we take this scatter chart once a quarter, and we have business unit safety reviews, and we call it our conversation analytics. It's taking every dot on that chart is a conversation. So I could run this for a business unit, a geography, total company, or an individual. And so it groups these conversations that are like in nature. Green, you're the highest in all 7 of those elements of an effective planning conversation. Yellow is still pretty damn good. Yellow is I'm thoughtful, I've got great high hazards, I'm talking planning words, I just don't really get engagement from others. And so when we run this down for like an individual, for example, it thinks about scale, right? And it thinks about over time. So if I'm a safety professional, I'm looking at paper plans, I walk up on somebody having a conversation, they're really not having a great one that day. Maybe they don't have a lot of high hazard activity that day, they're just disengaged. I kind of nail them on, hey, you need to improve X, Y, and Z. Well, it's interesting when you look at scale over time with an individual, they may group mostly green, mostly yellow, and be really actually, on most days, they're great. So it's cool to look at this over time. Certainly on your bottom right, you're going to be needing coaching. Those are where you want to decrease your density and you want to improve all your conversations. We like to see the green and yellow get much denser with more conversation analytics.
I love it. Yes, sir.
My favorite part about this cluster chart is when you're actually talking and live in it, you can click on any one of those single dots and pull up the video. Literally watch it to show, hey, why you're on the meeting.
Thank you.
That's a great point.
Thank you. And again, this is to say, how do we use technology to help us do our jobs, right? And one of our jobs is we have to put information up in front of executives and leadership teams and individuals that says, here's what this stuff means, here's where you fit, and here's what we got to do about it.
Just something also to note on that is, if we're to ask everybody that's safety professional here today, like, where are your leaders? How do you guys do for pre-task planning? And what did we used to do, which is a PowerPoint? We would try to apply a generic training to a vastly different group of people. Like, there are different things going on. That's why, one of the reasons why it's always kind of...
one other point on that. So it took us from this subjective thought about, I feel like our pre-plans are weak, till we have objective data where your executive and upper management, they want to see that we can measure and improve based on a DMAIC process, define, measure, analyze, implement, and control. We're able to do that because we can organize and we can build action plans off of it, which we do.
And celebrate people who do a great job. Today, we have nothing to celebrate. A piece of paper, right? But you have people who are doing a great job with these conversations. I guarantee you, not all of yours are bad. Some of you guys are doing a great job. What's the problem? Who is it? And how does Larry find out about the Juan's doing a great job? I don't know. And by the way, he wants to just watch Juan. So Lane, you want to talk to this real quick? And
just,
then I want to your question.
So as you can imagine, you start to have a lot of these roll through. You can't watch all the videos to know what to go talk to, and we're all really busy. So it's like, hey, I can't watch all these. I need a way to figure out who to go recognize and if I have one person to talk to today, who's that is that going to be? And so I like this one because I can say, oh, Paul Watson's kicking butt. I'm going to go find Paul. I'm going to click on Paul's name, watch a couple, like you said, and then I'm going to go find that guy and go, hey, keep it up, thank you, good job, or here's a gift card, or whatever you want to do. But also, there's Axel and Josh I have to go find. And so project teams like this because there's me, you guys know, so all the stuff you're dealing with. And so if you can, and leaders want to be effective and go help with safety, and this lets them know you're going right to where you're most effective. So,
And to remove, by the way, what reduces accidents and injuries? Rewarding and recognizing the behaviors that you want. Drive the behaviors that you want, better things are going to happen, right? So use tools to do that, right? Let's get out of this other stuff.
people can tell that they're, when you walk up to them and you're investing in them versus getting them to do something for you, it's changed our relationship with the craft.
So important, so important. Daniel, thank you, Lane and Jamie.
So Barry, you don't have to be a statistician or PhD to look at my report.
All right, come on, we got to go.
We'll give it to you.
Come on.
All right, so basically the biggest thing for us is recognizing effort, right? So the quickest way to recognize effort is, what do we want to see? Are you working toward that end? And if you don't recognize effort, you won't have success. So we do some fun things around recognizing great pre-task plan huddles, when we kick off a job, or say over the next 3 weeks, give us the best pre-task plan, and we'll recognize, give them some peer recognition, pat on the back, maybe a gift card. So this is a way that our operational leadership or myself can go in and go, hey, what do we look like? Are we actually doing these plans? What do these plans kind of look like? Click on a few. We see Eric is very active in here, and Eric Odom, he's at a project and can't really see it, but they start really early. But these are videos, right? Thumbnails, so we can kind of click through a few of them, watch 15 seconds or so of each, and recognize some effort along the way, or say, hey, we're all adults here. Let's review some. Let's show you how you've done them. What do you like? Where are there opportunities to improve?
That's right.
Pretty simple.
It ranges from all those different things. We thought you were solving in the beginning one thing and you ended up solving something else. What is it that you changed, Dan?
Yeah, so as I mentioned before, we started this process trying to find a better way to drive engagement, but what we learned is we're really trying to find out how to improve frontline leadership engagement, and we want safety champions. And so what do safety champions look like on our project? Well, they're people that are engaged and they care. They're switched on. They plan work. They don't have accidents and injuries. This allowed us to really focus on that. And then secondary to that, and I mentioned it before and I'll say it again, is trying to drive the value of that safety professional. Trying to find a way for that safety professional to be engaged with our trade partners, foreman and frontline, and trying to drive a better outcome. So
that's right.
It's really important for us.
Right. This was the stuff I was trying to get to. We're going to do this panel. I'm going to do a couple of these questions. And how are we doing on time? It's 12 o'clock. We have 15 minutes. Is that what we have left? Or we have till 12:30? We got 15. Can y'all hang with us for 15 more minutes? Is this interesting? All right, good. All right, good. I just one of you saying no back there. I know who you are. All right.
Saw a couple heads on.
Exactly. All right. So I have 5 or 6 questions, and I'll go through a couple of these, and I'm trying to make them pointed because as a matter of fact, I'm going to skip to the hard ones first. So, okay, it's all good. Yeah, that's great. Charts, beautiful. I look like a hero. Build my relationship, save incidents. But I can't add one more thing for the field to do. This is you asking them, by the way, so I'm asking it for you. Are you sure the field will embrace this? And are you sure that a bunch of Texans will, be on video? Right? Some of you are thinking this question. So I'd love for Jamie answer this question.
So you're going to certainly run into resistance. What we found, there's about 12% that really resist, right? And then you've got this whole other pie that will dabble in and out with engagement. So they're only going to drive as hard as you help them to improve. And so we certainly use action plans, and we have conversations. We've done rewards. Our safety champions are through this. You can create some. So realistically, are you going to run into some resistance? Yeah, you're going to run into some. You got to navigate it, and that's for your own implementation and launch plan. One thing I challenge back with leaders is when they say, well, we can't add something for them to do. It's like, okay, well, look, you have $1.75 million worth of time at TDIndustries we spend pre-planning. If I could use this app to cut that in half, would you be okay with that? They're like, yeah, okay. So leadership's bought in there. And then also, they're already pre-planning. We're going to reduce waste. They're having 5 minutes conversations, and sometimes we really need to keep them under 2 because we've watched these, and they're having some very non-value added activities that they're discussing, and they're really wasting time, eroding a process. They're really eroding culture in the project by mishandling this activity.
Beautiful. You guys want to add anything to that, or you want me to move to the next question?
I was surprised that how these leaders really care about being pretty good at this. Like, there's a percentage that just showing up to get a check, every company, every organization. But, we, all of our subcontractor trade partners call them, use it. No pushback. I mean, I don't know if it's Facebook and TikTok or whatever, but people feel really pretty comfortable about doing them.
Take some time. There's a thing that goes along with it. But the point is, 100,000 of them, at some point, you kind of go like, well, okay, I guess somebody's doing it. Is this magic? Is everyone really going to just magically get better at daily planning conversations because you put a phone in their hand or you videoed them? Dan?
No.
No. Yeah, so talk about what, is it hard? And if it is hard, what do you do about that? And how have you tackled it?
Yeah, it's like all God's children, right? You got the ones that don't want to do it. You got the ones that kind of want to do it. You got, the people that feel captive, and then you got people that champion and want to be pioneers with this. And I would just say that the part of the conversation that has to happen is we have to get aligned on goals. You have to get aligned on goals. What is our outcome here? What are we trying to accomplish here? You're asking me to do this. You're putting this in my hand. What are we really trying to accomplish here? You just want me to do this electronically, and maybe you'll see it when somebody gets hurt, right? Or we've had all the above. We had operational leaders that say, I don't want to put another thing in their hand, like you mentioned before. And you really have to create some success stories. You really have to champion somebody and find that leader that really wants to embrace this in order to find success. So it's a pretty, the process, and Dave in the back, I see Dave looking at me. He's giving me the stink eye in the back because he's a guy that's out there every day, and Travis too in the back, and they're really working with these individuals. We put it part of their personal success plans, when we meet with them individually, but we also want our frontline leaders to have lower accidents, and we can't do it on paper. We cannot get there doing it the same way. But what we can do is put some simple things in their hands, like, hey, what's the worst thing that can happen today? How do we prevent it from happening? What are we working on, and what are the steps to get there? How do we drive engagement? Do we have somebody else do the talk next time instead of the same person? There's a few little simple steps. You can do it with or without the application, right? The results will probably be the same, but the reality is that you have to spend time, and it takes energy to work on this problem. And it has to be, and it's very minor changes that make monumental impact.
One thing you will see is,
items.
Yeah, go ahead, Jamie.
Yeah.
Banana.
No, banana. That's our safe word.
Yeah. So when you think about actual
We're going to do a little
improvement,
Pulp
right?
Fiction here in a minute.
So you will see improvement without intervention. So what we have seen, there is a volume of practice that they will self-improve.
Right.
You'll see your majority of larger percentage improvements with an intervention strategy. But yeah, they will self-improve some if you're okay with real slow growth and change.
Lane, you want to add anything to this, or you want?
It just has to do with trust. You got to create a place where, and we're trying to do this where we, I'll do one, and I'll video and I'll talk, and then they see like, oh, he's not that great either, or here's what I've got to do. And so just, we also are really, you want to talk about an 800-pound gorilla, if it's praise in public, coach in private. So you don't tear them up in the comment box, you keep it positive, and you go find that person, coach them in person. So.
There's one more thing, but I was going to say to this thing that's more important than the conversation itself, is the environment that leadership creates for the conversation. That's what we learned over the last 4 years. I used to think this was a managing this way problem. It's a managing this way problem. When your operational teams and your safety teams make it clear what good looks like, people are more than happy to make the change. The biggest problem is we have not done a very good job of showing them what good looks like, creating value and trust for them to do it. They're not dummies. They've just never seen it. It's a big, big deal. And that's on us. That's something that we can do, and you can do it relatively quickly, and you'll have an impact. But it's not magic. It is work, right?
Well, it's actually, so you can do all kinds of hashtags and stuff. And so we hashtag ours, hashtag best, #winner. Anyone can hop on their phone and see what the winner was. So give out a Yeti cooler. They're interested in winning one, and they see what good looks like. There's no training classes and PowerPoints like you talked about. It's like I saw like this neat step and another step and another step with very little work.
Okay, so there's more questions, but I want to ask this one, and then I want to make sure there's at least 5 minutes for you guys to ask these questions. And we're going to have lunch. Hopefully, you guys will have some lunch with us, or you want to have some drinks later or something. Happy to do that. I'd love for you guys to talk to this one just a little bit. Maybe Jamie, you want to do it because you're probably saying, "Oh, I don't know, it's a lot of work. I don't know if I want to do this. It's a hassle. I got a bunch of stuff. Should I even bother trying?" And that's a legit feel. I know how that feels. So
I personally wasn't bought in at first, and so I was chomping at the bit to answer this question. So I was like mildly interested, but I had a big problem of I didn't like my observation platform that I had prior. So we just switch at TD. We say, okay, now we're doing observations, and then we take a group, and we took about 6 business units. We did a Q4 pilot, and we ran 2,000 conversations. Once we got our first analytics, it's like, sure, no brainer, is easy to sell, ready to move. But, I had the same thoughts. Nobody would do this. Nobody would get engaged. But we found we did have an easier process. And so we're on this journey, and we're improving constantly. But it has so much to do with you as the safety leader pushing in the pedal on what engagement you want to improve at your company.
What about you personally, though? If you just say one thing, Jamie, like I got this out of this the last 3 years, and so for me personally, I'm glad I did it because I got whatever it is I got.
Sure. I mean, selfishly, it elevated our entire team's status across our operational the way we're organizationally set up at TD. So we're set at a different stage. We can talk to a different level. We're thought of as the team that uses BI most effectively across. But what really helped was we're way more intentional with what we can go action plan. So instead of, hey, we react and we just hammer people, we're extremely intentional with how we show up on project or with strategic planning.
Perfect. Lane, you want to talk to this at all? Why should they bother? Why would they? If they're going to,
I feel like my defining moment was that $20 bill, and once you know something's not right, how can we sit by and not work on it? So for me, that was
one moment after 4 years of doing this. Lane was, by the way, Lane was really, really, really early. He's the one who, by the way, originally, the first time he asked me to do this, I said no because it was a crazy idea. I'm not going to build this, and so he's kind of convinced me to do this in the first place.
Sorry.
But that's okay. Yeah, there's one.
Apologize.
But one thing for you personally that says, hey, look, these guys should bother going through it, not just because it's broken. I mean, it's been broken for a long time, so why bother?
I think a few things. Like one big surprise was our safety team in the field. If you're a field safety manager, their job satisfaction went up. That was a big surprise. And it was about people feeling like you're investing in them and not getting them to do something. Like, show me your papers, license and registration, that kind of stuff. There's that. There's a different seat at the table with operations. So, you can talk about training, you can talk about inspecting.
Without a doubt.
Yeah. You can't, I firmly believe, and I used to love inspections, but you cannot inspect a project into being safe. You'll never catch it. But you can plan one into being safe. And so, to me, that's the biggest motivator, and then the earning the seat at the table. So when you talk about planning, your whole organization's built around planning and building stuff, right? So it clicks with operations in a different way. You're starting to talk their language, and that has earned a different spot.
Dan was going to say.
And I was just one quick thing is it helped our team focus on the things that truly reduce accidents and injuries. Pretty simple for us.
All right. I know we're short on time. There was actually more stuff, but if we have 5 minutes, at least for group questions. If Christian, do you have a question? Yeah.
Yeah, probably several.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been a good. Anytime Barry has somebody that is interested, I've talked to a few. One, because I learn a ton from what they're trying to do. I love seeing in everybody's zones. Like I saw something Lane was doing yesterday that I'm going to absolutely implement tomorrow. So I find it as a benchmarking opportunity for me. So I've certainly talked to several, and I would say I was probably responsible for a good 5 or 6.
Dan and Lane,
DPR, yes. Just makes it easy. I have two systems.
Yeah, we're probably not as successful as DPR, but we are on our major projects, and we have several of our trade partners that are doing it this way.
Last question for Barry. Why do you capitalize on it?
I don't know. Weird. I'm just weird. All right. Thank you, Christian. Yes, sir.
Is it requested contractually prior to? Is it put in the contract, or do you just talk about this during pre-construction?
We put in we call it an attachment 3. It says you'll use electronic platforms, like kind of a generic thing. We haven't had any pushback from trade partners. I mean, even like the guys that come put up the tower crane, they'll jump in and do it. It's like, it kind of clicks more for the supervisors and operations. The people that are slower to click for has been the safety professionals, strangely.
And there's a method to the madness. By the way, again, we've learned a lot
Yeah.
in 4 years. If you walk up to somebody, throw this thing at them and say, great, I got this electronic gizmo, now you just start recording your video of your planning conversations, it's going to fail. Don't do that. But there's a couple little things that you can do that we've learned. If you just do, they're not rocket science, but if you do them, it is very, very hard for people to sort of argue with the fact that I'm going to celebrate you because you lead a good daily planning conversation. Will you share it with others on the team? Right? Our expectation is we're going to have conversations on this job site that we're proud of, right? What is hard about that? Then great. And create an environment I don't know who everybody is, the GC or the trade contractor, where there's trust and people, see value in the activity, and people will do it. They're more than happy to do it. So it's really, to be honest, it's us. We're having to break some uncomfortable habits that we have cultivated over the years, which is the habit of, my job is to go get you to fill out this piece of paper and sign it and put it in this box so that I can tick something and say that it happens. We have forgotten the plot. We didn't have another way to do it, by the way. So that's it. All right, another question. Tough one.
The back room.
The hardest one. Somebody, like, no way, ain't gonna work. I tried it, it failed. You're gonna hurt my feelings. Dave's back there. I love Super Dave, by the way. Dave's seen it all. Dave's lead with the face. He's done it all. He's seen them all back there.
I'll just say this: if anybody decides to start to work on pre-task planning, there's a group of us out there that have kind of done all the hard work and have maybe a faster, smarter path to getting there, and so willing to share whatever with everybody.
Yes.
Sure. Just take that simple 7 card, just yourself, and just go out and physically watch a couple and start looking for, areas of opportunity across that 7. You'll see pretty quick the industry has a broken process.
Yes.
He's onto something there, because when I physically look at these videos, right, one of the biggest wasted opportunities I see is a group of extremely experienced journeymen talking about completely non-value added activity that day. And so I think it shows care. It shows that I know you're competent when we talk about what really has changed, what do you not know, and then have that two-way dialogue back and forth about what else. It says, hey, I know you're competent, you add value to this conversation, instead of, hey, I'm going to talk to you like you're a 5th grader because this is what I think the purpose of this activity is.
With that, we have to wrap up. Unfortunately, I would love to keep this dialogue going. I cannot say thanks enough to these 3 guys who are moving our industry forward. I mean, we really should all give them a round of applause, right? So thank you. I mean it from the bottom of my heart. They're dear friends and they're good guys. They're really trying to do something forward. And I also want to say, I have high expectations for TEXO. It was here 20 years ago this month that 20 years ago this month, we got 10 contractors together in a room with Christian and Dan and Dorothy and Raleigh, if any of you guys know that, and we looked at how do we put a safety form on a Palm Pilot and create reports. And the 10 contractors from TEXO here invented mobile collection of safety information and inspections. This is all where it happened. And it happens to be just sort of an interesting coincidence that we in Texas, by the way, I am from Texas, we in Texas, again, are pushing our industry forward and saying, it's time to stop being stupid with this activity, right? It's time. We don't need it, and we have to fix it, right? Because nobody else is going to do it for us. You know what I mean? So I want to thank you guys for coming and being a part of this and your questions and engagement and Christian's capitalization question. And so thank you so much for this. Thank you very much. Appreciate you guys. You bet.
All right, everyone, we're breaking out to the lunch session, so please meet at the ballroom, and then don't forget to visit our vendors, okay? Thank you.